Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Smart Contact, where smart people come to contact crypto. My name's Jonathan, your journalistic integrity, rock and roll crypto fanatic for the past 2 years, who is here to demystify and tell you about crypto and all the exciting things going on with it while maintaining journalistic integrity. And so it is New Year's Eve for another hour here in California, and so there's some things we need to talk about. This is going to be a five things video, and I know what you're wondering. What's up with this facial hair? Well, what happened was I went completely off the grid. I went out in the woods where they didn't have any shaving utensils, and I got back, and now I'm doing my videos right away. It's the first thing I did. So yeah, that's where the beard came from, and also can explain my hiatus. But there's a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about, our quick little market watch. We're going to do talk about Russia and Ukraine. We're going to talk about a little bit of FTX debacle, a little update on that. We got the $1.7 trillion stimulus package. We have this this tax loss harvesting one story that's going to be funny, and then I'm going to actually just talk about smart contact crypto's plans for next year, for 2023, and my general thoughts of the market. So let's dive right in. I was a little sick too, but my voice might not be 100%. But hey, you got this deep raspiness. It's sexy, right? Okay, so uh, Bitcoin, it's been doing the same thing for weeks now. It's just staying right around the mid 16s. Ethereum, we got it at. We can take a look at them separately. We got Bitcoin here over the past month, very, very flat 3 months. We had that drop off, but ever since, around here, early November, it's just been right in this little range here. Surprisingly went up to 18 a few weeks ago. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin. A lot of people calling for another leg down. A lot of people saying we're going to just peter around here for a while. Um, the next major support that exists, people are talking about being around the $12,000 range, which was the high in 2019. And yeah, we're going to see if there's a lot of confluence between 2023 and 2019 whenever it comes to the 4-year cycles, the trends. It seems to be like on a 4-year cycle. So 2019, 2023. We'll see if we have this kind of a rally in 2023. But we'll get more into that here at the end of the video. So hang around. Ethereum, it's probably going to be a similar story here. Yep, looks like it. We had a big, November 9th, a big crash, and it's been petering around the same general area in the around $1,200. And then, since Luna got kicked out of school back in May, old reliable Ada is the cool kid again. And let's see how it's doing. Ada's, it's similar but not exactly the same. Like November 9th, what was going on then? Nowhere near as big of a crash as we saw on Bitcoin and Ethereum. It likes to do its constant downward trajectory. It's less volatile. And some could say because it's more decentralized than a lot of the other cryptos, as well as less manipulated in Bitcoin's case. And so let's dive into our stories. So, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, cryptos will not reach all-time highs. It doesn't matter if it's the halving in 2024, the halving in 2028, or the next major bull cycle and Fed pivot, in a decade from now. There's so many different theories. None of them will come to pass with World War III looming, much less, much worse if a World War did come to pass. But even with it looming, because Bitcoin can be bought by all the countries. It can be bought by Russia. It can be bought by China. It can be bought by the United States. It can be bought by the European Union. It can be bought by anybody. That's why we love it. And that's why crypto can and will thrive in peaceful times, ones that aren't based on war and death and oil and the legacy financial system, which really does crank along in a socialist function where the government just tells the people that we need war and we go on these economic wars and the stock market's heavily built upon war, all of that. So crypto is the antithesis of the legacy system and all its problems. So yes, I've talked about it before. Crypto can, and I believe will, bring about world peace and a golden era if we get this right, if we do regulations right. Um, it can bring humanity together. It's what this whole channel's about. I talk about it all the time. And so we're just going to touch on it real quick. Um, we're going to talk about it a little bit more in this Biden package, but Zelensky vows Ukrainian air defense will become even stronger in the new year. He talks about it being the strongest, most powerful in Europe. Um, Ukraine faced another round of Russian strikes going into 2022. So it doesn't look like we're wrapping up anytime soon. I don't see all-time highs right around the corner. This alone can tell you, you don't have to worry about the Fed. You don't have to worry about the markets recovering or stimulus packages or anything like that while there's still World War III going on. Bitcoin is bigger than the stock market. It's bigger than Apple. It's bigger than all of these things, just not yet. And we have to look at the underlying things that crypto would need to take off. And again, world peace is up there. And that's really just generally what we need to see for everything to turn around. We need a peaceful globe, not necessarily globalization as far as interworking and us growing chickens here and then having them processed in China and then brought back over here to be sold because no other country will sell that toxic goo to their children to eat, but we do here in the United States. So um, yes, things can be good and globalized, and I think crypto is a good example of that. And so, the people are hiding in bathrooms and they're beginning to pray. And this is New Year's Eve attack. This is just 11 hours ago. This is rough. Oh, hold on one second. I have to send a text message because it just became New Year in Arizona. We still got some time here in California, though. And so, yes, that's all I have to say about Ukraine and Russia right now. As 2022 ends, Ukrainians in Kyiv hope for peace in the new year. Kyiv is the capital of Ukraine. And so they're hoping for peace. We're all hoping for peace. And there have been talks, of the Biden administration starting now to push for a peaceful resolution. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, so we're going to move along. All right, so I didn't even cover the whole FTX debacle. Don't get me wrong, I spend hours a day researching crypto and I'm up to date on everything that's happened. And it's been a wild ride. In my last video was about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Elon Musk and how AOC was more pro-crypto than Musk. And I mentioned SBF in that a little bit, but since then, wow, poop has hit the fan. And so basically, he's been defrauded. Alameda Research was basically a hedge fund that was connected to FTX, and they were using user funds to basically gamble in the crypto market in these extremely volatile and uncertain times, and they ended up losing all the money. We're still looking for all the money. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, has completely ruined his career. I'm working on a video that I'm going to put out, and it's going to be very comprehensive of the corruption in the crypto industry, in the crypto media, which can be seen from the outside, like with articles from New York Times and Forbes that were pro SBF after its collapse, and then also how they SBF had bought the Block, which was a major crypto news source, and so I'm going to be. There's already been some work into that. I'm working on my own journalistic work and the ways that I gather research and fact check to come with even more stuff with different sources. And you can always count on this channel, Smart Contact, to bring you real, accurate, thought-provoking, and original thoughts about the news, and not just taking it from one source, and definitely not taking the mainstream media's word for anything. And so, yeah, basically he did all of those crimes, all the fraud. Then he got caught and he fled to the Bahamas. And then the Bahamian government ended up arresting him right before he was supposed to come to the United States. And it turns out that we're thinking at this point, allegedly, the Bahamian government had special deals with SBF and FTX, and they're now going, and so they didn't want that corruption to be uncovered when he came to the United States. But all of that is still pending. I believe January 3rd, SBF is set to go back and face charges. He was able to get bail. A $250 million bail was set for him, and he posted it, so you only had to do 10% of that, so 25 million. So right now he is out, and he's with his parents under house arrest until he goes back and faces charges. He's facing up to over 100 years if found guilty on all charges, and so we'll have to see what happens with that. I don't have too much else to it other than this story, which came out earlier today. Bahamas regulators says it seized 3.5 billion in FTX crypto assets, and this is from the Wall Street Journal. Bahamas securities regulators, they seized the digital assets for FTX's local operations in mid-November. And so Christina Roll, executive director of the Securities Commission of Bahamas. Let's see. There's a bunch of these. Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal thinks it's better than us. They think that they can hold their end because they have the best news, right? They're the best, most wonderful, accurate news. So I should sign up and, KYC basically with them so they can steal my data. No, thank you, Wall Street Journal. I don't like any of them, but definitely the ones that make you sign up to see their mediocre, basic journalism. Okay, so yes. 3.5 billion FTX's Bahamian subsidiary, digital markets. The watchdog said that the funds are being held on a temporary basis until it's directed by the country's Supreme Court to deliver them to customers and creditors or to liquidators. The regulator took the funds after receiving information from SBF concerning cyber attacks on the systems of the FTX Bahamian unit, it said. So when it comes to this $3.5 billion, I wouldn't put too much weight in it at this point. I mean, we knew the Bahamian government is going to be wanting to get some of the money. That's where SBF was living. That's where FTX, the corporation, was operating out of, not FTX US, but FTX. And so I'm sure that there's a lot of shadiness there, and it's all going to be worked out. I don't know if this $3.5 billion is going to stay in the Bahamas and maybe pay for some of, I'm sure he has debts in the Bahamas, if it's going to go to that, or if it's going to end up being part of the bankruptcy and legal proceedings, and maybe that 3.5 billion can go to making some of the investors whole again. That we're going to have to work that out with the Bahamian government and see how much of it was on their corruption, because we know the Bahamian people are not allowed to invest in crypto, unlike the Bahamian government. And so that's my little update on that. We'll see what happens. Every other channel's covering it constantly too. So you did not need me to keep you up to date on the SBF story. It's been a clickbait magnet, and it's really not just clickbait. I mean, it's a huge story. Okay, so now let's move on to what I love to talk about, which is things that the other channels don't really get into or think about as much, but my background is more in journalism than in crypto. And so I already had news channels that I was working on, and before I transitioned to cryptocurrency, because I just became so fascinated with everything about it. And so so there's this $1.7 trillion government spending bill, and I know this is CNN politics, much less. It's trash. But the way that, and I've said this before, the way that you do it is you look at a lot of different news sources, then you find the truth, and you understand that some of them are going to have a bias, if not all of them. And CNN is mainstream media like Fox News or MSNBC, and they are just basically advertisements for the establishment, whether that be um, the incumbent politicians that have been there for 40, 50, 20, so many years, decades, or various corporations that get funding from the government. Just watch the commercials. That's who's telling you your news. Um, so anyways, Biden signs $1.7 trillion spending into lots of 4,000 pages. Not a single person has read it. And it's $1.7 trillion. And it's getting signed. But hey, this is not the first time at all. Um, and this is a really quick breakdown of it. This is probably about as much as Biden himself knows about it. But yeah, $1.7 trillion. And I've seen other sources, like I think about half of it is going to the military and the other half is not. And 40 billion of it's going to Ukraine, I believe. But let's take a look here. It'll invest. It'll invest in medical research, safety, veteran health care, disaster recovery. I don't know if he didn't say this, and that's why it's in parentheses, because it's a quote, but then this is in I've never heard anyone say VAWA, but maybe that's what he said, and that's why they. But anyways, funding Violence Against Women Act and gets crucial assistance to Ukraine. And wrote in a tweet. Okay, so Biden signed the bill while vacationing in the Virgin Islands, and it was flown to him. You can't email and print these things off. You got to print them off of the White House or somewhere in Washington D.C., and then you got to fly it to the Virgin Islands. Okay, this just seems silly to me. And so this is at least the second time this year an important bill has been flown to Biden, so it's not the first time it happened. The other one involved Ukraine. The spending bill represents a final opportunity for Biden and the Democrats to make an imprint before the Republicans come in. The Republicans, with a very, very slight majority, are going to be taking the House next year. And so I guess, but nobody, but everyone's signing off on this, and no one's really giving a stink about it. Everybody got a piece of what they wanted, except really the people. I think if this had been a referendum where the people got to vote, I think especially with a lot of this military funding, I don't think half of 1.7 trillion would have been going to the military. I think we would have said, maybe a quarter of that would be good. Uh, like maybe an eighth of the 1.7 trillion can go to the military. But again, that's a video for another day. And so let's see. The legislation includes 772.5 billion for non-defense programs and 858 billion in defense funding. And 45 billion in emergency funding in Ukraine and NATO allies. I mean, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Not one this is not going to help crypto. This is not innovative research for technology. This is going to military contractors. This is not going to development. This is going to military contractors and funding wars and giving weapons to people all across the world. We give weapons to Israel, and Israel sells weapons. They sell I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but they make a huge profit in Israel selling weapons, and then we give them weapons. There's open corruption. There's so many conspiracy theories, but then there's also just things right there in front of you, but they're going to distract us as much as they can from that. When I say they, I mean the mainstream media. And so let's continue on. And so the things that they're saying it's going to help, and of course this is CNN. So they're obviously going to be pro-corporate, and Biden is corporate. So it will help boost and disaster aid and college access and childcare and mental health and food assistance, more support for the military and veterans, and additional funds for the U.S. Capitol Police. More support for the military, more like 858 billion. Out of the 772.5, that's going to be coming to actually helping veterans. If any of it actually goes to that, but it's not going to be coming from this portion of it. And so those are all good things, but it's not going to have some other things. And I like how they said that however the bill which runs more than they save the 4,000 pages for this, like basically this 4,000 pages, like don't really listen to this article. This article is complete bullshit. None of us have read 4,000 pages, but this is what we've got to work with right now. And so they're admitting it's not going to include a child tax credit. Okay, child tax credit basically translates into a better, healthy economy. We bailed out the banks in 2008. That's just an example. We've done it. We bailed out every major corporation, basically. We've that have failed because they run their companies poorly, and we bail them out. But I guess we can't bail out parents. I guess that's one step too far, because then they're going to spend their money at the store, and that's going to be real capitalism. Because if you let the people choose where they spend their money, then only the best companies will survive. But if we give that kind of financial freedom to the people, then who's going to care about the companies that aren't running their systems very well, who are wasting money, who are treating their employees poorly, who are not giving their employees enough money? Who's going to care about them? If we don't give the money to those companies, then they'll fall just like these people who had kids and can't afford it. We can't let that happen. And so yeah, it's not gonna go to that. Multiple other corporate and individual tax breaks. I guarantee you, individual tax breaks are going to be the ones that get left out. Did not make it into the financial bill. Legislation to allow cannabis companies to bank their own reserves. Oh yeah, surprise, surprise. Known as the Safe Banking Act, or bill to help Afghan evacuees gain lawful permanent residency. That's also not in it. And the spending did not include White House requests for 10 billion additional funding for COVID-19. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not not very happy about this spending bill. Nothing in it yells at me anything about innovation or tech, and so those are both not good signs for crypto prices going mooning in 2023, because this is supposed to last us until September 30th, which I didn't realize that the fiscal year began on October 1st. So while it is in California going to be the new year here in about 43 minutes, it was the fiscal new year a few months ago, October 1st. All right, so this next one is actually kind of fun. It just seems ridiculous, and this is the kind of thing that we actually really do need regulation about, and to figure out what's going on here, and the landscape of NFTs and digital assets, and so much more. This is from CoinDesk. Tax loss harvesting platform Unsellable is building the world's largest collection of worthless NFTs. Uh, I mean, if it has worth to you, sentimental worth, and who's to say what worth is? But the platform has so far purchased over 93,000 no longer valuable NFTs that previous owners can count as losses to reduce their taxable gains, capital gains. I mean, if somebody spent $1 million on this thing, do they really? I don't know. It's just, do they really deserve to tax harvest that if now it's worth, 2 pennies? You tell me. I mean, to me, that seems like reasonable crypto regulation. If you got a worthless NFT, the can you really tax loss harvest that? I mean, it's something to debate. I don't have a strong stance, but I could see how that's not really tax loss harvestable. Um, So after the boom of 2021, the hype that fueled the non-fungible token NFT trading has subsided. So just like the rest of crypto, everything's been going down. And so then enter Unsellable. It's a platform launched last month. Uh, so this is new, and that acquires worthless NFTs for the cost of gas plus a few bucks. The site functions as instant liquidity for otherwise, as the name suggests, unsellable NFTs. So that's actually kind of cool. It's kind of a cool business structure. Um, think of, and they made a statement, think of us as Web3 junk removal. Um, at the time of writing, they had purchased up to 93,000 or 9,300 NFTs, according to Etherscan. And we got somebody here, Molly White said, did a little bit of analysis on the service so far, purchased 5,500 NFTs, the most expensive NFT to have been sent to the service was one that sold for just under 12,000 in January of 2022. Tax loss harvesting service emerges to help collectors unload their worthless NFTs. So hey, if you spend a lot of money on an NFT and now it's worth nothing, there is this unsellable platform called Unsellable where you can sell your worthless NFTs for tax loss harvesting. Would I recommend it? No, because I don't offer any type of financial advice, and I personally don't think this is very ethical just because of how new NFTs are, and how it's not as regulated. And but it's debatable. So we'll just have to see where this one goes. The platform's popularity comes as once profitable traders seek to cut their losses. Prices for most NFTs and cryptocurrencies were at their dollar value peak last December and January, with NFTs being hit especially hard. And so definitely interesting, and who knows, maybe it's going to wrap back around and all of these worthless NFTs that people paid them to take will end up being worth a lot more, and then Unsellable will be the new, I don't know, FTX. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so let's FTX is unsellable. Okay, so now I'm gonna just kind of talk about the past year a little bit and the future and what I think about the market going forward as well. So 2022 has been a bad year anyway you cut it, unless you're, big oil or a military industrial complex. I mean, those record profits in 2022. It's hard to believe that gas prices were so high, and then, but also gas companies made these record profits. What about inflation? Okay, that's another story for another day. And all this war, there hasn't been this much war for a while in the United States. And so that's why it's been a really strong year for the military industrial companies in the military industrial complex. And so, but as far as retail, as far as regular people around the world, as far as tech companies and crypto, um, it's been a very bad year. And so that's why it was to be expected, though. I mean, the COVID was a very crazy, and the pandemic and all of that was a very crazy, difficult time for all of us, and a lot of things were done haphazardly, and a lot of things were taken advantage of when they shouldn't have been. And that goes to all sides of it. I've said it before. Anytime you give huge amounts of money to people, like corporations who don't need it, like I'm talking about, like people who aren't going to spend it, people who will um, not end up not paying taxes, um, by either hiding it within and by doing it in various charities or by taking out loans on their stocks and things like that actually don't spend it, then it doesn't actually help the economy. It goes into these multi-global corporations. But if you actually give money to the people, they spend that money, it stays in the economy, and it gives real data on where people spend their money. And so a lot happened in the previous 2 years, and that's when crypto was doing really great. Hopefully, we can get that type of economy and legislation going forward. Like, oh wait, when the people have money, then the economy, then the things people like grow. It's crazy, but uh, they don't want us. The mainstream media, the government, they don't want us to have money. They don't want us to have choices. And so that's one of the main reasons I love crypto so much. And I do believe, because it just gives a glimmer of hope that things could be better, that it's not all going to turn into a CBDC dystopian nightmare where we all plug into the metaverse and that's the only way that you could be happy. There should be to augment reality, not be, a literal matrix. And so, or like the movie The Matrix. And so, I think 2023 is going to be rough too. I do think that's just me and my research, and I watch all the same crypto channels. I watch a lot of news. It looks like it's going to be a tough year. It would make sense with the cycles as well. I'm hoping maybe just like 2019 in summer there may be a rise, but no hard thoughts on that at this point. I dollar cost averaged all of 2022, and it didn't work out great for me. I made a few smart trades, but I have still have most of my crypto. As you know, I'm not rich. I'm one of you, and but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it together. And so, what else did I jot down here? Oh yeah, so I'm gonna be rolling out a website for Smart Contact. I plan to do more regular programming. I know everything I roll out is gold, but I need to be doing it more. Um, And of course, more sharing about my knowledge, my insight about journalism, journalistic integrity, political science, what I already know about politics and our political landscape, and also just original thoughts on the crypto space. I'm not just regurgitating things. When you come here, you're getting somebody who has my own thoughts. And I also love the audience, and I love to get feedback from the audience and from my viewers. And so please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment. It matters so much, but I want to thank everybody who's been there for me and who will be there for me in the future. And I hope you know that I'm here for you. And still got 30 minutes until it's 2023 in California. But I hope all of you have a great new year, a great 2023. And I'll talk to you very soon.